the old Swedes Foundation, which is a nonprofit membership organization, which, like any other museum in the country. And I'm Rebecca Wilson, and I'm the executive director. What we do here is we give tours of the site, we tell history, we have different kinds of programs, like Ghosts in the Graveyard in October, Palin's Day in April, and this year we get to have the King and Queen of Sweden in May when they come for the 375th celebration of the landing of the Swedes in Delaware. Do any of you know your early Delaware history? No. Okay. Did you raise your hand? Okay.
Someone does know the call our nickel though.
Oh, okay. Well.
They're keeping on the river fire.
Oh, okay. Oh, do they volunteer there? Do they sail on the Kalmarnock?
Yeah, I have.
You have? Okay. In 1638, the Swedes came to this country and they landed on the shore about a block and a half from here for where the rocks were. And all along the Manskill, which is today the Christina River, there were very high rocks. Not just like the rocks that we see, but I mean like 6, 8, 9-foot rocks. Over time, I wish I could say they were worn away, but they were blasted down for navigation on the river during the late 19th and early 20th century, when this 7th Street Peninsula was a major shipbuilding area, and this part of Wilmington, which made some of the largest ships in the country and was well known for it, supplied them for war and a variety of other things. That's like a part of our history we've lost today. We realize how industrial Wilmington was in the early 20th century. But the Swedes landed here March 29, 1638. And they were brought here under the leadership of Peter Minuit. Now, you probably know he was Dutch. And he had been up in New York with Peter Stuyvesant. And he and Stuyvesant weren't getting along. He'd had enough of all of that, and he went back to Holland just in time to be hired by the Swedes to lead their contingent here. Now, like John Smith, Peter Minuit had surveyed all of this area, and what is today Delaware and parts of Pennsylvania were claimed by both the English and the Dutch early on, but neither of them settled it. So Minuit brought the Swedes here for 3 reasons. 1, there was plenty of water and natural resources. 2, the Indians that were here were much friendlier than some other tribes in other inhabited areas. And 3, he could bring them down the river. They would have a chance to get their fort up and get settled before either the Dutch or the English knew they were here. So they wouldn't have to defend themselves against them, and they could get themselves settled. Even with that being said, this was the shortest colony in the country. It was a Swedish colony, and the flag of Sweden flew from 1638 to 1655. Now, at the end of 1655, the Swedes didn't pack up and go home because many of them owned large tracts of land versus a tiny little plot that they would have had in Sweden. So while the flag of Sweden flew here, they settled not just what is today Wilmington and parts of Delaware. They settled both sides of the Delaware River. They started Philadelphia, even though that's not what they called it. They settled in the west side of the river into New Jersey, and they went as far south as northeast Maryland. And that partly was part of their undoing, because at the time that they lost this land to the Dutch in 1655, there were 600 men, women, and children going from as far north as Trenton to as far south as northeast Maryland. That's not many people. New York had about 8,000 to 10,000, Virginia had 14, and Boston had 20,000, roughly, at that time. So you can see this whole colony didn't even equal 1,000 people. The